look at the way the Prime Minister has been laying in huge amount of attention and detailing out the very fact that we have to look at the country as one unit. And therefore, if we have to achieve our objective of Antyodaya, our objective of Sarvangniya Vikas, all-round development, then we have to look at things holistically. And if you look at his repertoire over the last 7 years, where from one nation, one market, one nation, one ration card, one nation, one sun, one grid, the solar alliance, the ration card perspective, the conjoining of markets perspective, this is another page out of that repertoire of ensuring that there is consolidation, there is focused development, focused projects that are put in place. And through the Gati Shakti project, and I'd like to just break it down into very simplistic thought processes, there is multimodal development on logistic projects across our country. But departments have a habit of operating in silos. Post that, the thought comes to mind of laying electrical lines. Post that, the thought comes to mind of laying OFC lines. Why can we not do this as a holistic project? And therefore, the Gati Shakti mission is a mission to ensure that all-round infrastructural development happens in one go across the length and breadth of that particular stretch in India. It's also his imperative to ensure that when you look at development of infrastructure, there is a whole of government approach as opposed to a pieces of government approach. And therefore, this Gati Shakti initiative is one that is going to help all line ministries. For example, there are close to about 200 GIS, 200 levels of GIS maps that have been laid out together. And therefore, if you're a petroleum and natural gas ministry, as opposed to a national highways ministry or ministry of civil aviation, all of you are able to take advantage of that infrastructure pipe, if you will, to be able to roll out your projects. And therefore, a whole of government approach, an approach to work in unison, and an approach to do projects at one time as opposed to doing it in a piecemeal project. So I think it's a revolutionary idea in India's thought of thinking, of laying out infrastructure. And India needs monumental change as opposed to incremental change, which it has experienced over the past many decades. And Prime Minister Modi is heralding that monumental change initiative through Gati Shakti. So if you look at what we have been able to achieve, let me give you a data point. In the last 70 years, India had built 74 airports. In the last 7 years, we have built 62 airports at last count, because I'm now counting Kushinagar, which is the last airport that we inaugurated, the Prime Minister inaugurated, and provided connectivity to as well. In the last 7 years. So we have almost doubled the number of airports in our country in 7 years. So what India achieved over 70 years, India has now achieved, close to achieved, in a matter of a span of 7 years. So we are today at close to about 136 airports. My imperative is the following. I do not think that infrastructure development in the area of civil aviation must be piecemeal. It must be holistic. And therefore, my effort is not only to provide the infrastructure in the form of an airport, but also to be able to provide the connectivity. Because otherwise, this infrastructure will become a white elephant. So let me give you two cases in point. We inaugurated the Sindhudurg airport about a month ago. And I was very clear from the very beginning, from the day I took over, that I will not inaugurate Sindhudurg airport unless I have a connectivity in terms of flight going there. And so we've got a Mumbai-Sindhudurg connectivity through Alliance Air going to Sindhudurg. So there is an airport infrastructure that's been inaugurated, and along with that, a flight. Therefore, the dividends of which, the advantages of which, will percolate down to the grassroots. Similar is the case in Kushinagar. When we inaugurated the Kushinagar airport, we also provided connectivity from Delhi to Kushinagar, starting on the 26th of November. And on the 18th of December, we will be providing connectivity from Mumbai to Kushinagar and from Kolkata to Kushinagar. So, an hitherto unserved airport, unconnected airport, is suddenly now connected to the political capital of the country, the financial capital of the country, and Kolkata, which is a prominent city close to that part of eastern UP. Now, our future plans. We plan to have in place by 2025 an additional close to about another 51 airports. And in addition to airports, let me tell you, Kriti, we also want to put in place heliports. We also want to put in place waterdromes, because for me, as a ministry, it is important to have last mile connectivity. You have international wide-bodied aircrafts coming into India. You have narrow-bodied aircraft which ferry passengers from our state capitals or our centers of 6-7 major metros down into the hinterland. But then you must have connectivity from the hinterland right down to the taluka and the district levels, which is provided by smaller aircrafts as well as helicopters. And helicopters also is a huge area in India which is completely unexploited, for which I put a heli policy in place. So any change or targets that need to be met have to be also met through pillars of policy change. So number one is the target that you set out in your question itself. From 74, we have gone to 136 in 7 years. And from 136, we propose to go to 220 over the next 4 to 5 years, which is going to be an exponential growth in airport infrastructure in India. Similarly, we also want to improve connectivity. And through the UDAN program, we are planning to have in place 1,000 routes, new routes, by 2025. We have already connected close to 389 routes as on date. In that program, we plan to build 100 airports. We've already built 60 airports as on date, another 40 airports going forward. So we have very ambitious plans, because I believe that the forestay of travel in the years to come is going to rapidly move from road and rail toward air. And just to end, let me give you the data point that I'm looking at. Today, you have 187 million people traveling by rail on second class AC or above. You have 144 million people traveling by air. The delta between the two is roughly 40 million. However, rail is experiencing a compounded annual growth rate of only close to 5.6%. Civil aviation is going to experience a CAGR of close to 10.3%. So the day is not far, 3 or 4 years down the road, where civil aviation total traffic will overtake second class AC and above traffic on rail. And if you look at in terms of penetration of the market, we have close to about 1.3 billion people in this country, 130 crores. But today you have 144 million round trip travels. Discrete travelers are only close to about 2% of our population. And therefore, the capability and the potential is huge. And no pun intended, but let me end by saying the sky is the limit.